Morning, South Carolinians are talking about Governor Nikki Haley's State of the State address. We wanted to break it all down for you. Joining us now is Republican strategist Bob McAllister and Democratic strategist Antoine C. Wright. Fellas, thank you for being here this morning.
Thank
we
you, sir.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you,
Yeah,
Sam.
we're going to get straight to it. There were several key points at last night's State of the State address. Let's start with domestic violence. Bob, did the governor step up to the plate last year?
Yeah, she talked about domestic violence being one of our biggest problems, and I think in the country we're number one or number two in domestic violence. Wants new prosecutors and more prosecutors in order to prosecute the crimes. So that's an issue whose time has come. But that's only one of the major issues. I thought the major issue she addressed last night, and by the way, it was a real good speech, but
You lie.
That's the best you can do. You've had all night long for your ad lib, and you call me a liar. But anyway.
What do you think, Antoine, about that? He said the governor did a good job. What do you think?
First of all, I thought that speech was hypocrisy at best, and it probably wasn't worth the government paper it was printed on. Look, the governor started out talking about we need a spirit of unity in South Carolina. Well, we did not hear in that speech. We heard some of the same toned-down rhetoric we heard from the leaders of her party, Donald Trump and Sarah Palin. We did not hear a full-fledged plan on how do we fix our roads in South Carolina. Instead, we heard the governor say what she will not do. We can't come to the table when we have big issues like fixing roads and say what you will not do. It's going to take a menu of options, and like Bob and I both agree, it's going to take a bipartisan effort to get it done. She attacked members of the General Assembly. Governor Carroll Campbell, who Bob was his chief of staff, would have never done that. Dick Riley would have never done that. It's going to take working with a General Assembly on both sides of the aisle to get things done, and we did not hear that last night from Governor Haley.
Well, actually, she did say what she wanted, very positive. She said she would sign a roads bill. She wants a concomitant income tax cut, which is good because we've got $1 billion more in surplus. She wants reform of DOT. She wants an income tax cut, and she wants the gas tax raised in order to fund our projects. I don't know how you can be more positive than that. Just because the Democrats want to throw money at things and continue raising taxes on the middle class, I see that as negative and not what Nikki Haley did. I thought it was I've written 12 State of the State addresses for two governors, so I kind of know a little bit about the process. I thought it was one of the most positive, gut-wrenching speeches I've heard, particularly when, in talking about the Manual 9 and the survivors, she really became moved.
What do you say to that? Yeah, absolutely. Because she talks about not 9, but now Emmanuel 12. What do you say to that?
Well, first of all, I think Bob is repeating the Republican propaganda talking points. Here's the bottom line. She said in her speech she will not sign any legislation that includes raising the gas tax. Well, that's what's in the bill currently, both in the House and in the bill in the Senate. That's number one. Number two, the reality of it is it's going to take a menu of options to get a roads bill done in South Carolina. Number three, if you can tell me how reforming DOT and a tax cut on a tax cut for wealthy South Carolinians. Her roads proposal include $100,000+ tax cut for 300 people in South Carolina. If you tell me how that fix potholes in South Carolina, I would agree.
We're gonna get back, folks. We're gonna get to commercial break. We're gonna get to commercial break, but when we come back again in about 15 more minutes, we're gonna talk a little bit more with these guys. Thank you so much for that. Okay, folks. We're talking about the governor's State of the State address last night. Of course, about 15 minutes ago, we heard from Bob McAllister, a Republican strategist, as well as Antoine C. Wright, Democratic strategist, about the speech. One of the things that the governor talked about was education. She stressed the importance for teachers to be placed in rural areas, and that if students go to those specific areas, they'll pay for education costs. What do y'all think about that? Is that a step in the right direction to help how South Carolina is dealing with education?
Yeah, there's no question about it. We need teachers in rural areas, good teachers, qualified teachers. I think the strongest proposal, there are two strong proposals. Okay. One she mentioned, one she didn't. The one she mentioned was facilities funding. School buildings in many of the districts are falling apart. You cannot have children in an environment to where it's not even safe to be in that environment. Right. But the thing she did not mention that I think is as critical is she's made a proposal earlier to outfit classrooms with Wi-Fi, to expand the broadband. We're in a technological age, yet we're still teaching as though we were in the 50s. There's no reason any kid in this state cannot have an iPad, should not have one, in school with access to the best teachers in South Carolina online.
What do you have to say to that?
I actually agree that I'm glad the governor is finally meeting the Democrats where they've been for a long time. I agree with her education proposal as it written today. Now, you know the legislative process may make it end up differently. But look, the bottom line is she's had 5 years in office to really address education. I'm glad she's finally stepping up to the plate. You know, we have the corridor of shame here in South Carolina. It's been going on for a long time. And so it's finally time that we step up and address a very important area in our state, and that's called public education.
You know, one thing that the governor even talked about when she mentioned the Walter Scott shooting, and she said that we were betrayed by one of our own, talking about the police officer. What's your reaction to that, especially given the climate about how many people have mixed feelings about police officers now?
Well, nobody should have mixed feelings about police officers. 99% are wonderful. They do a wonderful job. Look at Sheriff Lott in Richland County and everything he's doing. But as in any profession, the ministry, doctors, lawyers, well, especially lawyers, you know, you got a lot of bad apples. And so she's acknowledging the obvious, that we've got to be vigilant and not hide from it when a law enforcement officer abuses his or her responsibilities. Having said that, for the life of me, I do not understand why vast parts of the country just have no confidence at all in law enforcement. Once the people of America lose confidence in their institutions, be it government, church, law enforcement, whatever, we're in for a very bad situation in this country.
You know, I totally agree with Bob, and I'm thankful to the governor for signing legislation introduced by Senator Marlon Kempson up Charleston, where Walter Scott, the shooting actually happened, and that was a bipartisan effort. And again, in order for us to meet some of the serious challenges we face in our state, it's going to take Democrats and Republicans working together to get it done.
And speaking of working together, folks, you saw they actually agreed on some things, which never happens.
Do you have that on tape?
Yeah, I have it on tape.
Okay, all right.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us again. We really do appreciate all your expertise. Stay with us, folks. There's more Good Day Columbia coming up right after the break.